We're here! The final episode of the Book of Boba Fett has landed, and it's certainly an interesting one with some twists and turns that I did not expect. Seeing Boba Fett in action alongside the Mandalorian is something we've been waiting for ages to see right now, and we finally got it, as well as total chaos on the streets of Mos Espa. Now I've got mixed feelings about the last episode of the series, as we're not sure if a season 2 of the show is being confirmed anytime soon. But let's dive in and talk about it anyway. Greetings my young Padawans, my name is Captain Jack and welcome to Star Wars Now. The final chapter of the Book of Boba Fett has arrived. Chapter 7 is titled In the Name of Honor, and is written by Jon Favreau and is of course directed by Robert Rodriguez. As final episodes go, personally I felt this was a little anticlimactic, but we'll get into that later in this review after a quick recap. Like as always, before we do jump into the main video, use the force and hit that subscribe and like button to never miss a video for myself and the team here at Star Wars Now. As always, if you're talking about Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. Okay, diving straight into the action, Cad Bane finally introduced himself to Boba Fett, even though the pair both know each other. Bane is evidently playing with Fett, as he teases him on the massacre of a Tusken tribe, before the two prepare to have your typical Western standoff, which is to be expected. While many of us might have been expecting a shootout there and then, it was coming later down the line. Finally though, the fighting we've been waiting for does kick off, following the termination of negotiations by Fett. The streets of Mos Espa really ignite with war, as all of Fett's forces are engaged by the locals. While the Mods and Chrysanthemum getting attacked, I think the death of the Gamorrean guards was the saddest moment of this episode, at this point at least. The action scenes we have been wanting kicked off finally in this chapter, with both Fett and the Mandalorian jetpacking in to strike the Pikes. We see Fett using his knee rockets, if that's what we're calling them, as well as his hand blasters compared to the main EE rifle that he is usually using. Personally, I love the raising of the knee to fire the rockets, as well as using the wrist rockets as well, something we've not seen since chapter 1 I think. There was something super cool about seeing Fett and Mando pinned by gunfire, and silent to their last breath, just before the Freetown reinforcements arrived. They do mention that the Marshal was gunned down in cold blood, sort of implying that he's dead, but I'm not sure about that for good reason. Now of course, seeing modern droidicas was something I did not expect to happen in this week's episode. As expected, the shields managed to hold off any attack, including Fett's mounted rocket pod, much to Black Chrysanthemum's surprise apparently. Even he tries the old tactic of forcing himself through the shield, which used to work on the old droidica models but apparently not on these modern type of destroyer droids. They do have a name, I just didn't catch it and haven't checked Wikipedia just yet. While I might not put it down to luck and it's something I should have expected sooner rather than later, Fett's Rancor is released onto the streets of Mos Espa, as it has been the firepower to take out the destroyer droids. The irony here is that Fett and his crime gang did not want to destroy the city, yet I would say that a Rancor does heavy amounts of damage to it, smashing buildings as it goes. Of course, breaking away from all-out warfare, we do see the return of Grogru to the show, as the lone X-Wing flies into Mos Eisley and meets Peli Motto. Even she puts it when she delivers Grogru to the Mandalorian, the Force does work in mysterious ways. With Grogu's apparent help, Mando is able to take down the destroyer, even if he does drop the Darksaber it seems. I mean seriously, it was just lying on the floor at one point. Grogu managing to tame Rancor, or at least calm it, shows how far the training of a Luke Skywalker has actually come. He may have left Luke's training to go back and be with the Mandalorian, but the skills he's been taught are invaluable right now. Is it bad I kind of expected him to bring out a lightsaber at one point and start swinging at the Pikes? Maybe it is a little too soon right now. As mentioned earlier, we were expecting the standoff between Cad Bane to reappear sometime later in the episode, and it does. As Bane does explain, he has known Boba for a long time, and plays once again on the death of a Tusken tribe. We're really seeing the lore play through here. The fight between them is basically really interesting, as Bane is essentially toying with Fett about the past. Of course, the turnaround of a conflict is Fett using the Tusken Spear is something I really didn't expect to go down like this. I just had to rewind the episode to see where we even got it from. Boba Fett finishes off Cad Bane with one quick blow, officially ending the legendary bounty hunter's reign of terror on the Star Wars universe, which was a shame to see, but finally to be expected after all this time. Now it's kind of a shame that Fennec Shand was absent for a large part of the fighting, as she went to Mos Eisley to deal with the command and control of the Pike Syndicate. Now as we know, Shand is effective in her assassination methods, taking out all the crime family leaders as well as Mok Shaiz, the mayor of Mos Espa, and finally, just finally dealing with the Pike Syndicate leader. Hopefully this would have put to bed the Pike's attempt to take over Tatooine, as they were preparing to pull out of the planet, much to the hate of the other families. The post-credit scene was nice to see, and does indeed confirm that Cobb Vanth, aka the Marshal, survived his run-in with Cad Bane. Given the presence of a modifier in this scene, it looks like he's going to get some mods of his own, just like everyone else on Tatooine it seems. It does also confirm in a way that this is not the last we see of the Marshal. Now my personal wish is that Timothy Olyphant stars in his own show, perhaps finding a way to put him into Rangers of the New Republic, if that series ever comes down the line. One could wish. Though, as I think the post-credit scene was kind of hinting at, Tatooine might have a new boss, that being Cobb Vanth. Think about it. Fett says to Fennec that they're both not cut out for ruling over a planet, as the last 7 chapters have somewhat proven. But there is a man who is, and he's currently getting upgraded into the palace right now, so maybe that's a hint. Overall, I think the ending of A Book of Boba Fett was somewhat lackluster, but let's explore it from a few different perspectives. Yes, the show succeeded in doing exactly what it intended, that being showing elements of Boba Fett's life in the book style, with chapters and other layers around it in different places. One of the big things myself, mainly in the last week and this week's episode, was the inclusion of Cad Bane. He fit the story perfectly, and given his past with Boba Fett and of course Dave Filoni's love of the character, using the typical Western bounty hunter style, this was fantastic. Now hopefully this isn't the last we do see of Cad Bane in the Star Wars universe, because even before his death, there are plenty more stories we can tell with him, I think. Now part of me does think the show lost some of the momentum when it comes to Boba Fett and Fennec Shand, due to the amount of time we spent with the likes of the Mandalorian and Luke Skywalker. While these are important characters, some could say they're not super important to Boba Fett's story here, particularly on Tatooine and the war that is about to take place, and did take place in this episode. The inclusion of the likes of Ahsoka Tano, Luke Skywalker and Grogru didn't really belong in the Book of Boba Fett, but again the show was placed here to further their stories. Now ultimately this fit with the upcoming shows such as Ahsoka as well as the Mandalorian Season 3, which are not super far away in the future anymore. While some elements of the show certainly could have been better, I do stand by my point that the show has pushed the Star Wars franchise as a whole in the right direction. Yes, we could joke and bill the Chapter 7 as the Mandalorian 2.5, but when looking at it, that has always been the case when it comes to the show, so realistically we should not be surprised that much. Though, will we get a Season 2 of A Book of Boba Fett? It has been surprisingly popular, but not as popular as The Mandalorian, which some might expect. Ultimately, I don't know if we'll see further adventures of Boba Fett on screen right now, as Disney and Lucasfilm are likely analysing the numbers and seeing what the audience reception for the series has been like. Personally, I'm also not sure myself. A second season might work, but I think we need a clearer vision of what the series' goal is from the get-go. As mentioned, this series sort of serves as a backdoor to The Mandalorian Season 3, so could another season where that is not the case actually do well on screen? Part of me does wonder if that were not for The Mandalorian's appearance on screen, as well as Luke Skywalker's, if viewers, particularly casual ones, would have gotten bored of this series so far. I've had a few people say that to me, so yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Now of course, if you want to catch more of our thoughts and opinions on the Book of Boba Fett, tune into the Star Wars Now podcast here on the channel this coming weekend, to see myself, young Obi-Wan, and a very special guest talk all things Boba Fett, and how the show is created in the visual effects department. Alright Exalted Ones, that's it for myself. Make sure to let us know your thoughts in the final chapter in the comment section below. It won't be too long before we're talking about the upcoming Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi series, or perhaps the Bad Batch Season 2. May 4th is almost around the corner, so strap in. Of course, like usual, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news, lore, and more. You can also follow us on social media as well. Make sure to let us know what you think in the video comment section below, because if you're talking about Star Wars, then we want to hear about it. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. May the Force be with you. Lord Fett, for your dishwasher needs an audience with you. I'm going to be Matt Berry.